We've all seen the masked slasher in the classic Halloween movies, a crazed man running loose through the night and killing young women. It's a nightmare for some of us, but sadly a true story for some. While Halloween night is one of the most fun of the year, it can also be the most dangerous for lone women out alone after a party or on their way home from a night out with their friends. Most times, the attacker is someone we don't know, but in some cases, we know them very well. This is one of those stories. Wolf at the Door, the Doreen Erbert story. Born Doreen Ray Hitchens in 1952 in Santa Clara, California, Doreen grew up in a close family. Many who knew her spoke highly of her kind and caring ways. She was always giving, and eventually her kind and generous nature led her to pursue a career in medicine, with her eventually becoming a physical therapist in the Bay Area. Around the same time, she began dating a man named William Michael Dennis, who went by the nickname Mike. As a child, Dennis had suffered a significant hearing loss, which caused him to stutter, and he suffered with depression. In Doreen, Dennis thought he had found Miss Right, his soulmate. After only a few months of dating, the couple got married, and Doreen soon gave birth to a baby boy, Paul. While Mike loved his role as father, the stress of being new parents was too much for the young couple to withstand. After they divorced in 1977 and Doreen retained primary custody of their son, who visited Mike on weekends, Mike attempted to be happy to see his son while he could. He was bitter after the divorce. Doreen soon remarried another man named Charles Erbert. The two of them having a child of their own, a daughter, sadly just 3 short years into the couple's marriage. Doreen's son Paul, from her previous marriage in February 1980, would climb through a fence near the family swimming pool and fell into the water. Although Doreen was at home at the time, she did not realize that her son was drowning until it was too late. After being pulled from the pool, Paul was put on life support for a week, but he died 3 days after his respirators and feeding tubes were removed. While it was devastating for the entire family, it was for Mike, Paul's biological father, who felt the pain the most. He blamed Doreen for Paul's death. Over the next 2 years, Mike became a shell of his former self, with his life and mental health slowly deteriorating. While Mike found his life falling apart, Doreen and Charles found out that she was pregnant with a son who was due to be born in early November. However, on Halloween night, 1984, Doreen took her 4-year-old daughter trick-or-treating while Charles handed out candy at home. After Doreen and their daughter came back home, Charles went to get more candy and stopped by the liquor store. Around 9 p.m., a loud knock pounded against the door, and a man in a wolf's mask carrying a large machete attacked Doreen. When Charles returned, he noted that the front door was unlocked inside. He found a bloody and horrific scene. Doreen was in the entrance while their unborn son was in the living room. Doreen had been struck repeatedly in the head and body with a large knife. Her left hand had been completely severed, and her 8-month-old fetus had been removed from her abdomen and hacked to pieces. When authorities arrived near the front door, they found a wolf mask. Nothing scary despite the horrific crime scene. It looked cartoonist and goofy. They also discovered a trail of blood leading all the way down the block where it suddenly stopped, which told investigators the killer had more than likely got into a car and driven away. Although Doreen still had a pulse when paramedics arrived, she died on the way to the hospital. Although initially it was thought Doreen's husband might have been the killer, when they arrived at her ex-husband's home, they found the truth, the answer, the door in a robe. He answered the door in a robe, and upon further checking his home, investigators found blood throughout the house and on articles of clothing. While conducting a second search of his home, police found a receipt from a hardware store and a label from a machete with an 18-inch blade. But what they found in the garage told them more. Inside were two handcuffs. What they found inside was two handmade coffins, one for his ex-wife's new husband and a smaller one for Doreen, as well as body bags, weights, and a map of the San Francisco Bay. While denying murdering his ex-wife, and despite the evidence, it wasn't enough to hold him. He sadly was released after 48 hours. However, there was an arrest again on November 5th, 1984, after forensics matched Mike's blood type to what they had found at the crime scene. Mike was charged with murder with special circumstances, which would make him eligible for the death penalty. In September 1999, he was sentenced to die in the gas chamber. But like many of the prisoners on California's death row, Mike is currently serving time and waiting for execution as of this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. If you have any recommendations, please feel free to comment or contact me. I'm on all social media, and they are all linked on this page. If you would like to support this show, you can find me on Patreon, which is linked as well. Please feel free to leave a like and rate and review if you enjoyed the show. I'd love to hear from you guys as well as your thoughts on the case. Please be respectful to the parties involved, and until next time, take care. And everyone, please have a happy and a safe Halloween.